Well, good afternoon. My name is Sabrina Lada. I'm the VP of Greenfield Cares. And on behalf of Greenfield Cares, we are grateful for you to be part of this conversation. We are gathered here to discuss a topic that is not only close to our hearts, but also of paramount importance: mental health supports for parents and caregivers across Canada. Greenfield Cares is deeply committed to making a positive impact in the realm of mental health. And our dedication has led us to support the Strong Minds, Strong Kids Make the Connection program, providing no-cost access to invaluable resources for parents and caregivers nationwide. This initiative is a testament to our belief in the power of community and support, and it marks an exciting expansion of our focus within the mental health sector. When we're looking at the parent and caregiver mental health space, Strong Minds, Strong Kids was the only choice, and really one we're proud of. This effort stems from our Women's Mental Health Initiative, a cornerstone of Greenfield Care since its inception in 2021. It's been a remarkable journey. We've touched more than 90,000 lives of more than 90,000 women nationwide, and together we're eager to build on this foundation by broadening our reach to this often overlooked group, parents and caregivers. Their well-being is not only crucial, it is important for the health of our communities at large. To delve deeper into this discussion, I'm actually very excited to invite my colleague, Debbie Garshin, who's the Senior Clinical Director at Greenfield Health. She's here to share her insights on mental health supports offered through Greenfield Health, but Debbie also brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in addressing the nuanced needs of women's mental health and a broader spectrum of caregiving experiences. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you, Sabrina. Hi, everyone. Strong Minds, Strong Kids is such a great program and resource making mental health support more accessible that I'm happy to be here and participate in this presentation today. Mental health is such a foundational component in parenting. For those of you who are parents, you know how challenging the job is. Even the most mentally well person finds it challenging. We're up against sleep deprivation, anxiety about whether we're doing the right things, financial hurdles, challenging behaviors from our kids, ensuring that we're feeding them right, pressures to be the perfect parent, and on and on. And really, it just never stops. Doesn't matter how old they are and how old you get, we always are challenged by parenting. People challenged with mental health issues may at times as well be less functioning and able to carry out their work, their responsibilities, or simply attend to their parenting needs, their parenting role as effectively as they would like to really be. We're going to learn today why that's important and the link between good mental health of parents and effective parenting. Mental health supports are not always easy to find, to access, or to afford, and we know this firsthand at Greenfield. Through Greenfield Cares about women's mental health and through our health services and benefits programs, Greenfield Health can provide this mental health support, which can include culturally sensitive, trauma-informed virtual therapy or other such requirements, depending on what is needed for you for the right fit. Greenfield Cares about women's mental health program includes a complimentary one-year subscription to internet-based cognitive behavioral therapy, otherwise known as our digital CBT program, as well as access to virtual therapy sessions and a wellness library. We know that mental health is not one size fits all, so that is why, with virtual therapy, our personalized therapist matching tool prioritizes intersectionality, acknowledging the various factors influencing individuals' well-being. So with 50 plus selection options such as culture, race, ethnicity, language, gender, sexuality, and religion, you can connect with a registered therapist who understands and relates to your unique situation and lived experiences. Our digital CBT program provides a self-paced online program that teaches people how their thoughts and behaviors impact their mood, as well as providing strategies to reduce symptoms and cope positively through psychoeducation, goal setting, cognitive skill building, amongst other things. By overcoming traditional barriers to care, digital CBT provides more convenient, accessible, and comprehensive support for anxiety and depressive symptoms. For parents especially, it is important that there are supports that are easily accessible to support them when, where, and how they would like to be supported throughout their caregiving. We are excited that through Green Shield Cares, parents across Canada can now access the Make the Connection online program at no cost. I personally had the opportunity to connect with Siobhan and Dr. Racine in addition to this discussion, and I look forward to learning more about Make the Connection and how we can collectively needs and experiences. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Siobhan, to take it away.
Thanks, Debbie, and we're very excited to be here today. So give me a moment, folks. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. We're okay with that?
Perfect. We can see it.
Great, thank you. So hello, everyone. My name is Siobhan, and I'm the Director of Programs and Partnerships here at Strong Minds, Strong Kids Psychology Canada. And welcome to our Make the Connection Lunch and Learn today with Dr. Nicole Racine. And we're delighted to have the opportunity to tell you more about the Make the Connection program and how it supports strong parent-child relationships and well-being. So before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping items. As you know, the webinar is being recorded today, and we'll send the link out for those who may not be able to join the webinar today. Also, the Lunch and Learn ends at 1 p.m., and we'll be leaving some time at the end for some Q&A. In order to ask your question, please click on the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen and type your question. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. So just for a little more background, Make the Connection is a program provided by Strong Minds, Strong Kids Psychology Canada. Strong Minds, Strong Kids is committed to promoting the mental well-being of children and youth, and we're dedicated to nurturing resilience in kids with the use of psychological science, so they can manage, learn, and grow from the many challenges in life. This year is particularly exciting for us as it's our 50th anniversary. And to learn more about us and our upcoming 50th celebration, head to our website at strongmindsstrongkids.org and follow us on social media. Today, we also acknowledge that our head office is located on sacred land that has been a site of human activity for over 15,000 years. The land is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas of the New Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Chippewa, and the Wendat, and is now home to many diverse peoples. As settlers, we entered into an agreement to share this land equitably, and we recognize the contributions and historic importance of Indigenous peoples and our commitment to make the promise of truth and reconciliation real in our communities. Okay, so let's talk about Make the Connection. Before I introduce Dr. Nicole, here's a quick overview of the program and what you'll get when you sign up.
Psychologists know that the first 3 years of an infant's life are critical in terms of their brain development. Making and forming a secure attachment relationship with your child is vital for this healthy development. And when you form a secure attachment with your child, you're helping them to build lifelong development skills.
The 7 pillars of the Make the Connection program were designed to help you build a secure attachment with your baby within the first 3 years of your baby's life. It is because psychologists recognize that the first 3 years are so important for a baby's development that the Make the Connection program was formed. Throughout the program, You will find engaging videos that deliver valuable information and entertain you at the same time. We have included lots of interactive activities that are packed with tips and tricks to help you on your journey. You'll also find a toolbox full of printable resources that you can use when you can't be online. The Make the Connection program can be completed on any modern browser. All you need is an internet connection. We know that having young children can make for a very busy life. That is why this online program was designed to work around your schedule. At the end of this exciting program, you will be on your way to forming a secure attachment relationship with your baby.
Just a little technical difficulty there, but that's a video in a nutshell of our program. So now I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Nicole Racine. Dr. Nicole is a clinical psychologist and assistant professor in the School of Psychology at the University of Ottawa, and the chair in Child and Youth Mental Health at the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. Dr. Racine received her Ph.D. in clinical developmental psychology at York University and completed a residency in clinical and pediatric child psychology at the Alberta Children's Hospital. She also completed a postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Calgary and the Alberta Children's Hospital Research Institute. Her research program examines the impact of early childhood adversity on mental health and well-being, risk and resilience processes, and what prevention and intervention strategies break cycles of risk across generations. So without further ado, take it away, Dr. Nicole.
Great. Thanks so much, Siobhan. And thank you so much to Green Shield for having us and hosting us and for the opportunity for this webinar. We're really delighted and excited to talk a little bit more about Make the Connection. And I guess in addition to the details that Siobhan shared on the professional side, the other side of the picture here is actually a picture with my two daughters, taken just a few months ago, although that was in the summer, shortly after my second was born. And it's true, they do grow the most they ever do in the first 3 years, because now she's almost 8 months old, and the little squish that she is here seems really, really far away, as now she's sitting and grabbing at things and babbling and jumping around. So, but this more to show that not only from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint, I really understand and resonate with the importance for supports for maternal mental health and strengthening the parent-child relationship. So I'll be delighted to have a little discussion at the end of the presentation and to field your questions. Next slide. I've had the great fortune to work with Strong Minds, Strong Kids over the last 2.5 years. And as part of that, I sit on their early years committee, a steering committee of individuals who helps guide some of the programs that are delivered through Strong Minds, Strong Kids. And I can really say that Make the Connection is quite a special one. And when the opportunity came up to work on that project and to adapt it from an in-person program to an online program, I felt like this was time that was really important to spend and a really worthy cause. And I know this as a parent. I remember buckling my first daughter into her car seat when we were about to leave the hospital after she was born, and they checked straps to make sure she was strapped in okay. And then they said, "You're good to go." And I remember looking at my partner and thinking, what? They're gonna let us take her home? That's it? She, and that kids don't come with a manual, right? And certainly babies don't. And oftentimes engaging with a baby and what do you do with a baby? It's so far from what many of us do in our daily lives and so far from maybe where we're at professionally or personally. And so it's no wonder that a large proportion of parents actually find it really hard to connect with their infant, to establish a relationship, and feel like they may not know what they're doing or know where to turn. We also increasingly live in a society where sometimes we're parenting on our own. We don't necessarily have the circles of support around us that we had traditionally. And, historically, children were always raised among extended family. And for many reasons now, many people aren't able to parent close to their family because they've had to move for careers or for schools or for other reasons. And so I think the Make the Connection program really tries to fill some of that gap of providing parents with skills that they can find useful. Next slide. So Make the Connection is an evidence-based parenting program, and it was developed more than 20 years ago, and for a very long time was actually delivered in person by public health nurses in different settings. And really the core of the program is helping to improve parenting self-confidence and attitudes. So we know that when you feel like you have the skills you need to be a parent, and you have an attitude that is open and willing to be responsive to your infant, this can have a really big impact on being able to develop a secure bond. And so before the pandemic, this was a 9-week in-person group. And my eldest was 15 months old when the pandemic hit. And so I remember the day we found out the daycares were closed and thinking, what were we going to do? But similarly, many programs weren't delivered and weren't able to be delivered during the pandemic. And so that really sparked an impetus to have the program be online and be developed so that it could be delivered online. And there are several wonderful opportunities that come along with this, which include that, like the video said, it can be accessed anytime on your own schedule, but also there aren't barriers, right, to transportation, or you're not relying on a group having to be delivered in your neighborhood or in your community. You can access all the information virtually. Next slide. So the Make the Connection program is grounded in attachment theory. And sometimes the word attachment or attachment parenting can be thrown around loosely. But here we're referring to the scientific version of attachment, which really refers to the expectation that children have about building a bond with their caregiver. And that happens when repeatedly over time, caregivers respond in a way that is contingent and sensitive. And so what happens is infants learn to depend on their caregivers for comfort and support. So they know when they're sad, when they're hungry, when they're in pain, when they feel alone, that someone is going to respond to them and meet their needs. And this attachment relationship really forms a secure foundation for social competence and emotion regulation across the life course. So ultimately, kids develop a blueprint about what they can expect from relationships, what they can expect from others. And that's really important because we want our kids to expect that actually people will be there for them, that people will support them. And later in life, what that means is you're able to engage in trusting adult relationships also. And so attachment difficulties in infancy and early childhood can be a risk factor for relationship challenges, but also for mental health difficulties later in life. Because if we are left feeling alone and like our needs can't be met, sometimes that can lead to anxiety and sadness that last over time. Next slide. So when Make the Connection was being delivered in person, there was actually an evaluation that was conducted where they looked at groups of mothers who had gone through the Make the Connection program, and also a group of mothers who were waitlisted. So this was a waitlist control design. And so they had people fill out questionnaires at the beginning of the intervention and at the end. And what this study concluded, this was an external evaluation done at Queen's University, was that Make the Connection is effective in promoting positive parent-infant attachment and is a strong candidate for public health initiatives targeting parenting skills. What this means is that actually it's an intervention that could easily be scaled, that could easily be delivered not just to people who need it the most, but broadly. Because as we said, I think, I think the criteria or the manual that I read before I got my driver's license was more substantial than, what was provided in becoming parents. And oftentimes we parent how we were parented, which sometimes is a good thing. But when there were maybe some things that were more challenging or things that we recognize for ourselves that we would like to change, it can be helpful to have a resource to show us a bit of a guide for how to do that. Next slide. So this is actually a quote from a program coordinator who is implementing the program in Bowen Island. And so she said, with so much parenting information available online these days, it's easier for parents and caregivers to feel overwhelmed when looking for reliable sources. Make the Connection takes the burden off families, gives them an easy way to navigate a self-paced program with just the right balance of evidence-based information, self-reflection, strategies, and relevant practice opportunities that promotes a secure and loving connection between the parent and caregiver and their child. I participated in the pilot program and realized that this would really benefit parents and caregivers that I work with. And so we found that, in fact, many care providers were saying, this is a really useful resource. And often parents want help and support, and it's not always easy to know where to go and find it, because you can find a lot of mommy blogs. And there's also a lot of information available on Instagram or TikTok, but that's not always necessarily evidence-based, meaning backed by science and backed by individuals who have a good sense of what can be helpful. So all of that can be found in one place with Make the Connection, which is great. Next slide. So when we launched the online version of the Make the Connection program, we did a pilot. And what that allowed us to do is get a little bit of a sense of whether or not people were benefiting from the program. This was a pilot that included about 100 individuals. And we also did some focus groups to get people's feedback. And what we found was that there was a significant increase in caregivers' understanding of attachment concepts. We found a substantial increase in how successful parents felt in their parenting role, and also an increase in feeling positive and fulfilled in connection with their baby. And what's interesting about this, and that we haven't done, but I think is a direction that we're moving in, is the idea that actually so many of these things that you learn as part of the program, you have to practice them, right? You implement them and you do them over time. And we may in fact find that there are sleeper effects. The more people use the techniques, the more they engage and are involved with their infant, perhaps the better the outcome. When we asked people in a focus group, what do you think of this intervention? People said generally they found the program and its content to be reassuring, and that was intentional. A really important part of Make the Connection is actually normalizing how parents feel, making people feel validated. I'll talk a little bit about some of the content of Make the Connection, but there are pillars of attachment that are shared. And most people found it very helpful to be able to access this information broken down in the small sections. And then I'll talk in a little minute about some of the specific sections that we have, but setting limits with love, accepting feelings, and milestone markers were some of participants' favorites. And I think there's a real reason for that. Setting limits with love is really like, how do you deal with those extra challenging behaviors where you actually have to set limits, which can be so hard to do, and really finding that balance, doing it in a loving way, and being able to kind of, channel perhaps the expectations or hopes that we have as parents into communicating those limits in loving ways. Accepting feelings, sometimes it's hard to accept those big feelings that our kids have, especially when they are expressing them perhaps in a way that wouldn't be our preferred way. And certainly I can share from my own perspective, my eldest child is a big feeler, for better and for worse. So it's big when it's positive, but it's also big when it's negative. And so being able to accept some of those is hard. And then milestone markers really allows caregivers to keep track and to note when changes are happening for their child, because sometimes, especially with infants and babies, just when you feel like you've got a handle, just when you feel like maybe you've got it right, they go and develop and change. they develop and things change. And so you have to constantly be versioning as the parent to be able to meet their needs. Next slide. So these are just a few more quotes that people found it easy to use. And with parents, that people liked how interactive it was. And I find that to be actually one really nice part about the program, is the really nice activities and also quizzes that are found throughout. People found the program to be very educational, gave great examples and activities, as well as a number of different strategies. There are also kind of real life stories and vignettes that are peppered through. And so people can really feel connected and seen, I think, by what's shown in the program. Next. So this is just a chart of what's found in the Make the Connection program. So all of the parenting skills are focused on really enhancing the parent-child relationship. And there are 7 key pillars of attachment that you see here. And so they focus on just initially creating that loving connection, being a secure base for the child. And this is really attachment language. It's the idea that the parent is a secure base that the child feels comfortable going off into the world to explore things, but also feels comfortable coming back when they need care and support. The idea of accepting feelings, even if they might be feelings we feel less comfortable with, like sadness or anger, frustration, disappointment, disgust. Being able to set limits with love, which can often be challenging, especially on behaviors that can present themselves. Promoting language, because we know that when kids are able to express themselves, that actually makes things a little bit easier on that parent-child relationship, because we can understand what a child's needs are. The idea of having baby conversations, because certainly I can even say for myself, I know in the very early months, I kind of find myself thinking like, am I supposed to be talking to this little thing? They're not really talking back, right? And if you're lucky, they may crack a smile for you around 3 or 4 months, but that's an awful long time to wait until you get there. And then being a play partner, because certainly we know for kids, even if it's just 5 minutes a day of playtime, it has a big impact on their development and their behavior. So within each of these 7 pillars, there are specific sections. So the first section really opens it up, talks about, okay, what does it all mean? What is this section about? Why does this matter? That's important. Then there's an opportunity to reflect, have your own reflections about the content. hear from real life stories, learn some strategies, practice with some activities. And then this is my favorite section, is the "It's Not Always Easy" section. And that's because it's all nice and good to get some of these activities and strategies, but what if it's not working? And what if you're finding it really hard? How do you troubleshoot that? And then finally, the milestone section allows you to keep track of your child's developmental milestones and also think about how the content might apply as your child ages and grows. And so through all of this, the caregiver gains strategies, learns different activities, and learns coping techniques for a healthy attachment relationship. And I know from even having gone through the program myself, there are some nice songs and little jingles that are practiced that I even use now. When I'm changing my daughter's diaper or we're doing transitions, I find myself singing along the little songs that I learned as part of Make the Connection. So I find them really helpful. Next slide. So here what we're going to do is just demonstrate or show a little bit of the content that is found within the Make the Connection program that parents have access to. This one in particular is the What It Means section from the Setting Limits with Love pillar.
What does it mean to set limits with love? Parents have always been expected to teach their children how to behave. Part of that job is setting limits, teaching children what kind of behavior is okay and which behaviors are not okay. We can set limits for our children by doing normal, everyday things like establishing daily routines, baby-proofing the home for safety, helping children to learn to wait for things they want, teaching manners, and limiting screen time. Children learn limits best from people they trust and love. Click on the words for detail on ways that you can teach and enforce limits to your children. Respond to big feelings and misbehavior in a calm, caring, and understanding way. Focus on teaching and safety rather than punishment and control. Teach and praise good behavior. Still allow your child to explore and try new things safely. Do not harm your child's sense of self-worth.
So that just gives you a little sense of the actual educational content that is part of Make the Connection, just in that early What It Means section. And then from there, you would go on into different sections and different activities that would teach some of the specific strategies. Overall, when we've engaged with caregivers and parents who have participated in Make the Connection, what we've learned from them is they really appreciate that they can go at their own pace with regards to time for the program, and how it's delivered is through a drip feed. So you get access to the content to one of the 7 pillars each week over time. So it's not overwhelming that you have to do all of the content all at once. Each pillar is about 15 minutes worth of content once you go through it and click on things. So a very digestible and manageable amount of time. Parents really appreciate some of the songs and activities that they learn, as well as the opportunity for reflection. We've heard from many parents and caregivers who have completed the program that actually having the reflection component motivated them or encouraged them to share the content from the program with their partner, or have conversations with their partner about it, or even to have conversations with their own parents who maybe are playing a role in caregiving with their child, and kind of sharing and talking about what they learned and some of the reflections they have related to that. And then finally, something that's really nice about the program is the opportunity to celebrate success, to identify opportunities or ways in which goals have been met, and also just generally, I think the opportunity to observe the things that are going well in their relationship with their child. Next slide. Great. So I'll hand it back over to you, Siobhan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nicole. Just wait till my video comes on. And so that was great. So hopefully you now know more about the Make the Connection program. And thanks to Green Shield, parents and caregivers can access the program now at no cost by using coupon code MTCGS. To sign up for the program, use the QR code on the screen or visit www.makingtheconnectionmatters.com. And I'll be sure to type that link into the chat as well if you just want to click on the link and check it out today. So once you do that, you click on Add to Cart, then type in that coupon code there and click Apply Coupon Code. And then you will be asked to fill in the rest of your sign up information and place your order. After that, what usually happens is you check your email inbox for a confirmation message, and then more instructions will be given. So let me just go to this next slide. Great. We'll now provide an opportunity for you to ask some questions to Dr. Nicole. And please remember to click on the Q&A button and type in any questions you have there. We're also asking everyone today if they could please take a quick minute to fill out a questionnaire, and we'll give the link in the chat as well, about our Lunch and Learn today before you leave. It just gives us a lot of great feedback on what you liked, and maybe even some other topics you might want to hear about in the future from us. So we really appreciate your feedback. Thank you, and thanks for listening to our presentations. So I will stop sharing right now. It's the link. Let me just put that link in there. And I'm also typing our Making the Connection matters.com. Okay, so all of those links are in the chat right now. So far, we don't have many questions. You could also write your questions, type your questions in the chat if that's easier for you as well. And Sabrina and Debbie, you're welcome to ask questions as well if you want today. Okay.
I don't have a question, but I think that story you told, Dr. Racine, about going home with the baby and just going, okay, now what, and not having those skills or those the knowledge of really what's next. It really, I think, resonates with a lot of parents. It certainly did with me. And I always said there were so many wonderful books on pregnancy and what to expect and how you're going to feel. And then the parenting ones were really based on feeding and sleeping and really some of those tangible things, which are great. But then if your child doesn't fall in line, it's useless. And so it's really managing your feelings and having that, I guess, the confidence to read your baby, to really know what they need innately and being able to connect with them. That really does help a lot in terms of your skills and your baby being able to fall in line. So I think that's so true. This would be a really
absolutely.
great source of help.
Yeah, absolutely, Debbie. I think I think what you said is absolutely true, because, even just being able to kind of notice and sit in those moments, right, where it actually feels really uncomfortable and can be really hard not to know and to have all of these things that are really unknown. And then you're bringing a being into the house that is a total unknown. And so I think for parents, just being able to, gain some strategies, knowing that these are things that are are backed by science and evidence-based is really helpful, and at least gives people, I think, a bit of a starting point.
Yeah, I'll
And
also,
some
you know,
confidence.
I'll also jump in there. I have a 14-month-old and I'm a new parent. I was our first, and absolutely, you go through postpartum. You know, if you haven't had the ideal delivery, you start off with, you know, something that you weren't expecting, and then you have a new baby, and exactly what you said. We had this baby we had to take home, and it's overwhelming. And the fact that with the Make the Connection program, you can go in, you know, watch what you want to watch, celebrate, you know, reflect. I think there's so many pieces of it that are really important and special, especially when there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of, you know, we want to get it right. I think a point you made that really resonates is I was talking to my baby and there was nothing for the first 3 months. And I kept being like, okay, is this right? You know, when will they learn how to sign? Because I've been signing at her for many months, and then it suddenly works out. So, you know, these are some examples, but as a new mom, you know, what a special program, and what you shared today was really, really powerful. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any. We do have a question actually from Jolene. Jolene asked, do you have any parents applying these techniques to, I guess, older kids like 5 to 7? Like attachment? Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's a good question. So I think so the program itself is certainly designed for that 0 to 3, and the developmental milestones, I think, really chart onto that. Do I think some of the strategies that are presented are ones that can be maintained or, you know, work with older children? I think so. Many of the I guess like the theoretical background, but also the strategies themselves, I think can continue to be useful, and probably, you know, shift and change with the needs of the child as they get older. But my eldest is 5, and many of the strategies that we used early on, actually, sometimes I need to be reminded that we kind of have to return to some of those more basic strategies, because every now and then she tricks me into thinking she can reason. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, here I am trying to reason with a 5-year-old. And you know, we respect her opinion, and but at the same time, I think, you know, having the good approach is to kind of set some of the limits, and also knowing that that special time, especially in a busy household, can be some of the most important time. So our time together reading at bedtime, or, you know, walking home from school, and just the opportunity to check in and kind of get a pulse check. How was her day? How did it go? If there was a supply teacher, I know dinner time is going to look a little bit different, because the day didn't have had a lot of changes, and so that was hard. And so we kind of prepare ourselves to be able to absorb that a little bit better.
Great, thanks, Nicole. Jolene says, my friend has a kid that I think missed some of these connections at an earlier age, so thank you.
Yeah, and you know, to comment a little bit on that, we know that kind of in investing in the parent-child relationship and doing that whenever possible and at any age is absolutely worthwhile. So I think sometimes we can also get caught up in thinking, you know, we have to be perfect, that, you know, we always have to be contingent and responding and attentive and doing the exact right thing. And the reality is, it's actually good enough. Parenting is just that, it's good enough. And that's what we need to aim towards. And so, yeah, but any of these strategies at any age can be helpful.
Thanks, Dr. Nicole. Are there any other questions before we sign off today? Okay, I think I think that's it. So I guess we might as well just wrap up early if there's no other questions. We'll also be again saving this webinar and providing a link to those who couldn't join us today. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Dr. Nicole, for all of the information. I know that, I mean, maybe I'm a little biased here, but I wish I had the Make the Connection program when my kids were little. That was back in 2008. I just remember feeling like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this little kid who, and it's really great to just be able to work through some of these things and some of these activities. So I'm just happy that this resource is here, and thank you to Green Shield again for your partnership. We very much appreciate you in helping us to bring this program to those that you work with. So if that's all for today, please everyone check out makingtheconnectionmatters.com, and I typed the link to the survey. Thank you so much, and hope you enjoy the program.
Thank you, ladies.
Okay. Bye-bye.